You know, when we think about World War II, our minds usually jump to these epic battles, right? Grand strategies, global conflict. But for millions of people, the war was just the background noise to the most personal moments of their lives. So today, we're going to zoom way in, all the way to the summer of 1943, to a small house in Chula Vista, California. And we're going to share the story of Betty and Fred, a young couple trying to build a family and a future right in the middle of a world that felt anything but certain.
And this little piece of wisdom, shared between them, this is really the heart of their entire story. It's a feeling that just completely transcends time, doesn't it? That universal sense that deep down, nobody really has it all figured out. It's what connects their world in 1943 directly to ours, and it really sets the stage for a story that's incredibly intimate but also just so relatable. All right, so let's dive in. Our story kicks off on a very specific day, July 30th, 1943. Now, this date is a big deal for Betty. It's her 24th birthday. But as we're about to see, this one moment perfectly captures that strange mix of personal joy and global anxiety that really define the era. Okay, just to give you a quick roadmap, we're going to follow Betty and Fred through a few really crucial weeks. We're starting with Betty's birthday, then we'll move into the very real, hands-on act of getting their home ready, and we'll wrap up with a moment that makes their future feel, well, incredibly real. And right away, you get a feel for their relationship, right? I love this exchange. It's just so warm and real. You've got Fred, so gentle and supportive, and then there's Betty, 7 months pregnant, totally practical, super witty, and just not mincing words. You can immediately feel the affection and the humor that holds these two together. Now, these gifts, they tell you so much about what life was like on the home front. With wartime restrictions, lavish presents just weren't an option, so gifts became all about care and skill. A handmade dress, little knitted baby clothes, even a rocking chair that Fred built himself. These weren't just things. They were literal proof of a community pulling together to provide for a new life. And there's Betty's personality again, just shining right through. Fred's daydreaming about having maybe 3 or 4 kids, and she comes back with this perfectly dry, hilarious line. It's one of those moments that just perfectly captures the mix of excitement and, some very real nerve she's feeling about what's coming. As Betty blows out her birthday candles, this is her secret wish. And these 3 simple lines, man, they just capture the entire era. First, the universal hope for a healthy child. That's timeless. But it's woven together with these specific deep-seated fears of the war. Please keep my husband safe. And please, just let us make it through all of this together. So, that private wish for a safe future, it wasn't just a wish. It immediately turned into action. With the baby's arrival getting closer and closer, Betty and Fred shifted their focus to a really tangible act of hope, creating a nursery, a small sanctuary of peace for their child. This wasn't just about decorating a room. This whole process of turning a cluttered old storage room into this bright, welcoming nursery, it was a true team effort. It was Fred's hard labor and Betty's artistic vision, all coming together. It was a powerful act of creation, a statement that they believed in the future. And this is where you can really see Betty's goal come to life. As a former art teacher, she didn't just paint a room a nice color, she literally created a world. This parade of gentle, friendly animals, it was a conscious choice to build a reality for her child that was all about innocence and cheer. Something completely separate from the conflict that was raging just across the ocean. But here's the thing. They weren't building this future all by themselves. Like we saw with the birthday gifts, preparing for a baby back in 1943 was a total community effort. It had to be, in a time that was just defined by scarcity. The challenge was just huge. Think about it. Factories weren't making cribs and changing tables. They were making things for the war. So what was the solution? It was community. A crib from a friend that Fred refinished, a quilt sewn by a relative. This is the story of the home front in a nutshell, people using their resourcefulness and their relationships to overcome huge limitations. And yet, even with the room perfectly prepared and full of handmade gifts, that emotional uncertainty was still there. Betty's question is one that every single expectant parent has asked, right? And Fred's answer? It's the bedrock of their whole story. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being willing to face the unknown together. And that brings us to the final part of our story, to a day in late August when the abstract idea of having a baby suddenly becomes shockingly, beautifully, and maybe even terrifyingly real. So the news comes in that their friends have had a baby boy. And of course, that's exciting, but it's also like a summons. Their visit to meet little Clark isn't just a social call. It's their first real up-close and personal look at the life that is waiting for them in just a few short weeks.
When Betty asks her friend Eleanor about the birth, Eleanor is brutally honest. She was in labor for 17 hours. Just that single number. It cuts through any romantic ideas. It makes the physical reality of what Betty is about to face really concrete and, frankly, pretty intimidating.
And so Betty just asks it. She voices the question that's been sitting right under the surface through all the painting and all the preparations. It's this moment of incredible vulnerability and honesty between two friends who are right on the edge of the biggest change of their lives.
Eleanor's answer is just perfect. It's so candid and reassuring and full of this wry wisdom. She doesn't brush off the fear or pretend the pain wasn't real. Instead, she validates it. She acknowledges that, yeah, terror and happiness can absolutely exist at the exact same time. It's such a beautiful summary of the complex reality of becoming a mother.
So on the drive home, after holding a tiny newborn and hearing about the realities of childbirth, all of Betty's hopes and all of her anxieties, they all boil down to this one vulnerable question. It's the question that's been at the very center of their story all along. In a world at war, with so much being so uncertain, are we capable of this?
And this is Fred's answer. It isn't about having some grand plan or knowing all the right things to do. His confidence isn't in himself or in some abstract idea of being ready. His confidence is entirely in her. It's this profound statement of partnership and belief. And it leaves us with the core message of their story, that the greatest tool you have for facing an uncertain future isn't a plan, it's a person.